Four more big portal names to know as the recruiting dead period comes to an end. That's coming your way next on Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network in the world. I'm your host, BK, Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you, everydayers, for making Locked On Longhorns your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, so please subscribe. And as always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving a comment. So thank y'all sincerely for that. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Some big news involving a returning Longhorn for 2026, plus a few updates on Texas's search for some offensive linemen. But first, let's talk portal. The dead period is over, and players in the transfer portal can once again take visits across the country. Because of the 3-day dead period from Monday to Wednesday, we haven't had a ton of new news since the Longhorns signed Cam Coleman and Hollywood Smothers on Sunday. Now, the Longhorns did get an offensive line commit from Texas A&M yesterday afternoon, so there's been some things, and we'll get to that pickup a little bit later in the show, but obviously, we had a bunch happen from last Thursday to Sunday, and then it's kind of cooled off a little bit. That can be expected to change throughout the day and into this weekend. Four more names to know for this opening segment. Two of the four have already locked down visits to Austin. The other two hopefully will in the not-too-distant future. The first name to talk about, former Tennessee edge Caleb Herring, starting with the defense today. Texas is still in the market for an edge. They went after Jaden Woods before he decided to return to Florida. They kicked the tires on Wendell Gregory before he opted to transfer to Kansas State. Now the Horns are in on Herring. He is the top name that I've heard Texas is interested in at that position right now. The Longhorns aren't alone in this pursuit. Herring is actually visiting South Carolina today, Thursday, before he makes his way to the ATX tomorrow, Friday. He's already visited Miami as well. Caleb Herring is a pass rush specialist. Don't think he'd be an every down guy if he came to Texas, because he wasn't that at Tennessee, but he can get after the quarterback. 14 tackles, 6 TFLs, 4 sacks, and 2 pass deflections in 2025 as more of a sub-package / situational player. 6'4", 245. Think of Brad Spence and kind of the role that he had with the Longhorns this past year. Not an every down guy, but a dude who made an impact often when he was actually on the field. That could be Caleb Herring. Maybe I'm underselling him. Maybe he's more than I think he is. There are plenty of schools and big-time schools that are interested here, but Texas, again, in the market for an edge. They're looking for more consistency from their pass rush outside of Colin Simmons. That makes a lot of sense, right? You can't double two really good edges. You're hoping you have an Ethan Burke type on the other side of the defensive line. I'm excited to see what Texas does there. And look, the Longhorns are in a pretty good spot. You've got Lance Jackson going into his second season. He was very impressive as a true freshman. Zena Umeozulu entered the portal, but Texas was able to convince him to stay. He'll be going into year 3. Justice Terry going into his second year, played more edge than interior defensive lineman in 2025. Maybe that's the plan for him in 2026 as well. So we'll see how hard Texas goes after Caleb Herring here. I think he's a good player. I wouldn't be opposed to somebody else popping up as an edge target for Texas. I want great players. I want winners, in the words of Mike Singletary. So we'll see. Again, he'd fill a role. He'd be an impact guy. Curious to see what happens there. Obviously, the Longhorns at least a little interested because they are hosting Caleb Herring for a visit. Another name to know is a linebacker. Even though the Horns have signed 2 backers from the portal already, I believe that they are trying to sign one more. Chris Jones could be that one more. No, not that Chris Jones. This Chris Jones is a transfer from Southern Miss. He committed to Ole Miss early in the portal season, but decommitted earlier in the week, so he is out there. Jones has totaled 179 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions in the past 2 years at Southern Miss. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining as well. So not just the one and done as most of these guys are. Chris Jones already has a visit scheduled to Florida State. And as of Wednesday night, when this is being recorded, there is no visit to Austin on his calendar. Obviously, that could change. And I've read, out of all of the backers that are currently there in the portal, he'd be the one that makes the most sense for the Longhorns. The key caveat, obviously, the first half of that statement, the portal is still open until midnight tomorrow. And because of the 48-hour rule, we're going to see more and more names pop up on Saturday and through Sunday as well. You might hear Southern Miss and not get super excited about Chris Jones, but he was first team All Sun Belt in 2025, top 10 in his conference in tackles. The production is there. 2-year starter at Southern Miss, first 2 years of college ball, so was able to play right away as a freshman there. And again, put up some really good numbers. Ole Miss interested, Florida State interested. Reasons why Texas should be interested in this one too. We'll see if the Horns can get a visit here. Now over to the offensive side of the football, more specifically the offensive line. 2 more names to know for the Big Uglies up front. And of course, that is a very endearing term. Texas will be hosting an offensive lineman today. Again, dead period over. Visits can start up again today. And Mason Barton is currently on his way to the ATX. 6'7", 315 pounds. Spent the last 2 years at Jackson State. Started 10 games for them in 2025. Logged a Pro Football Focus grade of 58.7. He had a pass blocking grade of 69. Nice. And a run blocking grade of 59.4. Not sure how you get a total of 58.7. Pass block grade 69. Run block grade 59.4. Total grade 58.7. Is there a third blocking grade that I don't know about? I demand answers. 60 is considered average, by the way, according to Pro Football Focus. So the pass blocking grade above average, the run blocking grade just slightly below, and the shot blocking or DM blocking, I don't know. Apparently that's really bad for Mason Barton. Appeared in 17 games total. Jackson State, by the way, at the FCS level. That's where Deion Sanders coached before he took the job at Colorado. So this would obviously be a big step up in competition for Mason Barton going from there to the SEC. 17 games total, 970 career snaps. One thing that I like about him, and one thing that I think the Texas staff probably likes about Mason Barton, he's versatile. He's played guard, he's played center, he's played tackle. All of his starts this past season are at left tackle. Texas already has one of those. He's not taking Trevor Goosby's spot, but he gives you some versatility up front, and that is never a bad thing. If you're going to be paying money for an offensive lineman, you'd like to get a guy who can help out in a couple of different ways. Seems like that's what Mason Barton would be. 8 penalties this past season. That's not good, although considering how many penalties the Texas O-line had, maybe he would fit right in. Huge human being. Not a huge needle mover. I understand that because of where he played, but I'm okay with Texas kicking the tires here. And I'll say this, just because somebody visits doesn't mean he has an offer. That rule has applied to high school recruiting forever. It applies here as well. Obviously, some mutual interest between the two parties. We will see what ends up happening with Mason Barton. And last but not least, I promised you 4 names, so here is name number 4. Former Maryland offensive lineman Aliou Bah. Spelled A-L-I-O-U, last name B-A-H. Aliou Bah is what YouTube told me. Hopefully that's right. He entered the portal yesterday, so a new addition, and he's already being linked to Texas. Bah started all 12 games for the Terrapins in 2025, also started for them at right guard in 2024, so multiple years of experience, easy for me to say. 6'6", 327 pounds, played 680 snaps this year. According to Pro Football Focus, had a 72.3 pass blocking grade and only allowed 2 hurries and 13 pressures all year. Here's my favorite stat. There aren't a ton of stats for offensive linemen, but these are some numbers I love. He did not allow 1 sack and only took 2 penalties all season. That will play. Bah, former 4-star recruit out of high school, actually started his career at Georgia, had a Texas offer out of high school as well, committed to Georgia, signed there, redshirted in 2022, barely played in 2023, went to Maryland, and immediately became their starting right guard for 2 years. I know Maryland hasn't been very good recently, but They only allowed 9 sacks as a team in 2025. That was the third fewest in the country this year. And obviously, Aliou Bah, full-time starter, a big part of that. And once again, he allowed 0 of those 9. So that's a guy that I'm interested in. Texas needing a right guard. That is a dude that makes a lot of sense. No visit yet, but hopefully the Longhorns can be in the mix. And I've been told that they are doing their homework on the former Maryland Terrapins. So there you go. 4 names to know as the dead period is over. Action will ramp back up, and we'll be talking all about it right here on Locked On Longhorns. All right, let's shift gears here. We knew this was coming, but it's nice to have it confirmed. Ryan Wingo is officially locked in for the 2026 season. What does it mean for the Texas offense? We will dive in next on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at Game Time. Hey, I was at the Texas basketball game last night. I bought my tickets from Game Time. If you want college football tickets, if you want college basketball tickets, if you want any tickets, there's only one place you need to go. That is Game Time. Buying tickets used to be frustrating. Long lines, logins, prices randomly jumping at checkout because of hidden fees. You don't have to worry about that with Game Time. They give the advantage back to the fans. This is the easiest way to unlock college football and college basketball tickets and experiences all in just a few taps. Maybe my favorite part about Game Time, really, there's 2. Number 1, you get a view from your seat, so you know exactly what your vantage point is going to be before you buy your tickets. And number 2, I mentioned it, no hidden fees, no prices randomly jumping at checkout, no games, no gimmicks, none of that with Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying your tickets with our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. All right, welcome back. Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Don't forget about the Locked On Everydayer Club, another great way to support what we're building, while also helping to support yourself, because you're going to get access to a bunch of exclusive perks, including Locked On Longhorns ad-free in podcast form with no interruptions, plus members-only Discord access and more. It's all just $5 a month, price of 1 cup of coffee, or $50 per year. Go to lockedonlonghorns.supercast.com for more, or you can check the link in the show notes. Yesterday afternoon, Texas wide receiver Ryan Wingo took to social media to announce that he is returning for the 2026 season. An Instagram story with the caption, "Run it back," confirmed everything we needed and everything we wanted to know. Again, we assumed this was going to happen, but in the world of college football that we live in, confirmation never a bad thing. The most explosive player on the Texas offense in 2025, second-team All-SECer, the Horns' leading wide receiver in pretty much every category. He is back. Big news for Arch Manning. Big news for Steve Sarkisian. Big news for the Longhorn offense. You know, we did a segment earlier this week talking about how much Ryan Wingo is going to benefit from Cam Coleman being here. I'm not going to do that same segment. I'll say this. Cam Coleman is going to benefit from having Ryan Wingo as well. That is a two-way street. Auburn had Eric Singleton last year, but in Cam Coleman's first year, they didn't have a receiver like that on the other side. And again, the quarterback play a huge difference. I mean, Ryan Wingo is a difference maker. Those two guys both attract a bunch of attention away from opposing defenses. That is a good thing. But obviously, in the case of Ryan Wingo, he's not going to have to deal with the pressure, the expectations, and the attention of being a number 1 wide receiver at a place like the University of Texas. That's great. How good Ryan Wingo is in 2026 is all up to Ryan Wingo. It's easy to put his problems on the coaches because it's always easy to put problems on the coaches. But to me, Ryan Wingo taking that next step and being the player that I want him to be, and I think you want him to be, and honestly, I think he wants himself to be, he's got to put in the work to take his game to an elite level. This is a contract year for him. Now, I guess in the age of NIL, every year is a contract year for everybody because negotiations happen every offseason. But I mean an NFL contract year. This is year 3 for Ryan Wingo. He will be draft eligible following the conclusion of this next season. If he puts together a really good year, big things could happen for Ryan Wingo. I'm hesitant because I'd love to have him for 2 more seasons, but if he puts it all together and fixes some of those drops and ends up being an all-conference, maybe even all-American caliber wideout in 2026, he could be off to the league. I know Cam Coleman is here. Guess what? Y'all remember the 2021 NFL draft when Alabama had 2 receivers in the top 10? Obviously, Steve Sarkisian was the offensive coordinator at Bama in 2020. So he was the guy calling the shots for that offense that, again, had 2 receivers drafted in the top 10 with Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. It's possible. I don't know if Ryan Wingo is a top 10 pick, but first round, absolutely. He can absolutely be a first round pick. I mean, his after catch ability is already good enough for Sundays. What has to change? Everything else. Before the catch, and mostly the catch itself. We all know the drop problems for Ryan Wingo, second in the SEC in that stat. That is not a category that you want to be near the top of the league in. He was near the top of the league in some good things too, but the drops just plagued him all year long. He has to find a way to cure the dropsies to be a first-round pick. Also, the route running, not always crisp, could use some improvements as well. I mean, think about it. Ryan Wingo's biggest plays this past fall were screen passes that were at or behind the line of scrimmage. There was no route to be run on those plays. It's literally stand there. When we snap it, stand there some more. We're going to throw you the football, and then you take off and run. Like, that was the most successful play for Ryan Wingo this year. And hey, it was incredibly successful. I'm not knocking it too much, but I'd like to have those, and I'd like to have more success with the crossing routes, right? Those mesh concepts, big part of Sark's offense. Just felt like Arch and Wingo were never on the same page on those this year. I'd like to see more success on some deep shots too. We saw it at times, but why not more? Ryan Wingo has big play ability. Want to see that on display when we get to 2026. If he plays like a first rounder, man, and obviously that 2020 Alabama team won a national championship. I'm just saying, they had a bunch of first-round picks on that squad. Mac Jones, the quarterback, went in the first round. Mentioned 2 top 10 receivers. I think they had an offensive lineman go in round 1. I think Najee Harris, the running back on that team, ended up going in round 1 too. Like, I don't know if Texas is going to have that many, but think about it. Arch Manning, first rounder. Trevor Gooseby at left tackle, likely first rounder. Cam Coleman, one of your wide receivers, likely first rounder. Colin Simmons, edge rusher, first rounder. Could there be one more? Maybe Ryan Wingo. I think as of right now, subject to change based on what Texas does in the portal over these next few days and weeks. But as of right now, I think Ryan Wingo might be the most likely guy to be that 5th first-round pick for Texas. That would be special. Now, if Jordan Seaton comes along, it's probably him. We'll talk about him more in segment number 3. But I really believe that Ryan Wingo has first-round pick ability. I really believe he has a chance to be a first-team All-SEC wide receiver. He was already second team, and think about how frustrating his games were. He has the ability to take things to a whole nother level. 834 receiving yards, 7 receiving touchdowns last year. If those numbers go up, Ryan Wingo should be picking out a nice suit for a Thursday night in April 2027, if you catch my drift. This wide receiver room is so good. Cam Coleman in the fold. Ryan Wingo confirmed back. Emmett Mosley a couple of weeks ago, it's confirmed that he's back. I mean, pound for pound, you could argue Texas has the best top 3 at wide receiver in the country. It doesn't just stop there because they've got Khalil Lockett and Dalen McCutcheon going into year 2. Jermaine Bishop, the superstar freshman, coming on campus as well. It's a good room. Those guys are going to help each other grow. They're going to help each other put up numbers because they're going to be taking attention from opposing defenders. Could be a special season for Ryan Wingo. I'm excited to watch it unfold. All right, would love to get your thoughts on Wingo, on Coleman, on the Texas offense. Do you agree with me? Do you think Wingo has first-round potential? Do you think I'm out of pocket? Any comments, a good comment. Would love to hear from y'all. All right, one segment to go on a Thursday show. How about a few more updates on Texas's search for offensive linemen? I mentioned the Jordan Seaton update. We'll get to that, and we'll talk about the Longhorns' newest commit from Texas A&M. It's coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. All right, welcome back. Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. The Texas Longhorns got some much-needed depth on the offensive line yesterday afternoon, landing a commitment from former Texas A&M Aggie Jonte Newman. Yes, you heard that right. Former Texas A&M Aggie Jonte Newman. Hello, Newman. Wonder if Jonte would understand that reference. Wonder if he's ever worked at the post office. Wonder if he knows what a post office is. Do people still go to the post office? We're getting very sidetracked here. Anyways, look, in today's college football, this isn't the first and this won't be the last time something like this happens. See Parker Livingston. We just talked about him transferring from Texas to Oklahoma, rival to rival. Feels sacrilegious. It is sacrilegious. It's the world that we're living in college sports in 2026. By the way, Jonte Newman, A&M fans aren't as freaked out about this one because he didn't quite put the skins on the wall in College Station that Livingston did in Austin. I mean, Newman just finished his first year with the Aggies. Didn't play much. Only one appearance all season long. So the good news for Texas, he was able to preserve his red shirt, and he's got 4 years of eligibility remaining. I don't think Aggie fans are losing their minds with this one. But hey, always nice to steal from little brother. He's a depth guy on the offensive line. I will take it. Jonte Newman, a little background, 4-star recruit out of high school. He was the 23rd ranked offensive tackle in the country in the class of 2025 from the state of Texas. And you think about what the Horns have lost in the portal in terms of depth, but also developmental guys up front. Nate Kibble, Daniel Cruz, Nick Brooks a couple of days ago hitting the portal. Like, the Longhorns want to have those guys. They didn't want to lose any of those guys, but they didn't want to pay them what they were looking for. I would assume, and I feel very good about assuming this, that Texas is saving money here with Newman versus what they would have had to pay to keep Kibble, Cruz, and or Brooks around. I was able to confirm yesterday that Nick Brooks' agent was asking for a raise for his client. That is why he's no longer with Texas. Again, we've seen that. We've talked about that a lot. A lot of the departures from the Longhorns this offseason have been because guys wanted more money or they weren't willing to take a pay cut. Usually it's about the money. That's what it was with Nick Brooks. Texas able to find, again, a guy that they can mold over time, 4 years of eligibility, and they don't have to pay him as much. I'm not sure Jonte Newman's going to be on the 2 deep this year. He's not going to be a starter. Don't have to worry about that. I don't know if he's going to be on the 2 deep. You carry more than 10 offensive linemen. By my count, he is the 13th O-lineman on the roster for next season, and there will be more. But yeah, depth important. Always good to steal from little bro when you get the chance. Last but not least today, the update on Colorado offensive lineman Jordan Seaton. You all know him, the top-ranked offensive lineman in the portal. You know, Texas fans still a little bit nervous and weary and angsty about what's been going on the offensive line. I don't think any of that went away with the Jonte Newman pickup. Think of the way Cam Coleman made everyone's wide receiver fears go away. That's what Jordan Seaton would do for the Texas offensive line. The update, I'm not sure how much this matters, but to some of you it might. I'll let you decide. Seaton recently followed Arch Manning and Colin Simmons on Instagram. Should we book our tickets to Vegas yet? That's for the national championship is in early 2027. In all seriousness, hey, that did happen. The hope is Seaton makes his way to campus and soon. Remember, Texas got the first visit for Cam Coleman. I think that meant something. I think that mattered. Obviously, the Longhorns ultimately got the commitment when it was all said and done from Cam. You know, Jordan Seaton entered the portal during the dead period. He has not been anywhere. We'll see. Maybe something drops overnight or before you're watching this that says Jordan Seaton is making his way to Austin or to Eugene, Oregon, or to somewhere else. Texas and Oregon, kind of the 2 schools linked to him the most early on. But I would love Texas to get the first crack at this recruitment. I mean, securing a visit from him is really the first meaningful step for Texas if they want to make some real noise here. Of course, we've touched on it. This is going to require a major investment. $3.5 million, depends on what you read and who you talk to. The numbers are astronomical. Texas has some money. Maybe they freed up some more money by letting Nick Brooks go earlier this week. I mean, he was the most expensive signee in the 2025 class on the offensive line. Now he's in the portal. More money is freed up. But yeah, Seaton, a 1-year guy more than likely, does have 2 years of eligibility remaining, but likely a candidate to enter the 2027 NFL draft and has a very good chance to be a first-round pick in that draft class as well. There's a lot of competition. Now is the waiting game. Where does Seaton decide to visit? How aggressive does Texas get here? The pressure's on Kyle Flood. There is no doubt. The pressure is on Kyle Flood. A lot of Texas fans are not happy that Kyle Flood is still this team's offensive line coach. He did not do a good job in 2025. That issue or that position was an issue all year long. They haven't recruited as well as I would have liked. They chose not to take anybody out of the portal last offseason. They haven't developed as well as any of us would like. And again, they couldn't field 5 offensive linemen that we felt good about in the entire 2025 season. Did that group get better late? Yes, but still not championship level. We're all looking for that. We all want championship level. So there's pressure on Kyle Flood and Steve Sarkisian. He's the head coach and he's the offensive-minded coach as well. They have to find championship level upgrades to this offensive line. You got to protect Arch Manning. He's your most important player. You just spent a lot of money on 2 running backs that you want to be very good. And you also spent a lot of money on Cam Coleman, who you want to be very good. You need to make sure this offense has the time that it needs to be as effective as we hope it is when we get to the fall. Impact talent here at running back, impact talent at wide receiver. You've got a new tight end. Now find more on the offensive line. You've got 2 transfers, but we're looking for plug-and-play difference makers. That's what Jordan Seaton is. The question is, does Texas want to spend what it would take to get him? Or would they rather, again, talked about the guard from Maryland in segment 1. There's plenty more offensive linemen in the portal, a couple of guys who have gone in recent days. Does Texas try to spend on a couple of those dudes, or do they push all of their chips into the center of the table again on Jordan Seaton? I wouldn't be opposed to that, considering he is the number 1 guy. You got the number 1 receiver. You got 2 top 5 running backs. You got the number 2 linebacker. You got a top 5 corner. Why not add a top-ranked Big Ugly to the mix? That would work. So we'll see what happens again throughout the day and throughout the coming days. The Jordan Seaton recruitment is one that everybody around college football is going to be paying attention to. I'm on the edge of my seat right now just talking about it. That'll do it for today's episode. Hey, if you made it this far, number 1, God bless you. Number 2, please remember to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, rate 5 stars, all of those great things. Can't thank y'all enough for your continued support of what we're building here on Locked On Longhorns. This is your Texas football transfer portal headquarters. Make sure you subscribe and have that notification bell turned on so you always know whenever we drop new content. Easy for me to say. That's going to do it for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mics off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.